For centuries, boats have passed by in silence. Fishermen steer clear. Even the wind seems to whisper warnings. Just beyond Venice lies a place so feared it was erased from maps. They call it Poveglia, where over 100,000 souls were laid to rest, and some say, never left. What turned this peaceful lagoon into a cursed land of screams and silence? This is Island Secrets, where we uncover the darkest, strangest, and most forbidden islands on Earth. Not every island is a paradise. Some are gateways to death. Let's reveal the mysteries of Poveglia Island. Just a few miles south of Venice, nestled in the calm waters of the Venetian lagoon, lies a small piece of land. On the surface, abandoned buildings, overgrown vines, and the remains of what once was civilization. But look closer, and the silence becomes deafening. Poveglia is split into two halves, once used for defense, later for something far more sinister. Though surrounded by beauty and history, no one sets foot here willingly anymore. Boats pass, but they don't stop. Even locals grow quiet when you mention its name. It's the kind of place that feels like time gave up, and so did life. In 1347, the Black Death arrived in Europe. By the time it reached Venice, panic had replaced reason. The disease spread fast through rats, ships, and the air itself. The symptoms were terrifying: blackened skin, violent coughing, fever, and a quick, painful death. With no cure, no understanding of the plague's cause, Venice's leaders made a chilling decision. Anyone suspected of illness would be removed immediately. The Republic of Venice needed isolation, far from the bustling canals and palazzos. And so, Poveglia was chosen. But this wasn't an empty island. Poveglia had once been a small, peaceful community with a handful of families, a church, and its own local government. But in 1379, as Venice was drawn into war with Genoa, the island's residents were evacuated and the island was fortified for defense. That was the last time it knew normal life. Over time, the population never returned. The war passed, but the plague remained. And so the island was quietly repurposed, not as a fortress, but as a death sentence. Thousands of victims, dragged from their homes or removed from ships, were brought to Poveglia. Many were still alive when they arrived. Most were dead within days. Pits were dug, bodies thrown in, and to stop the disease from spreading, they burned the corpses day after day, year after year. Those too weak to resist were cast into the flames alive, screaming not just in agony but in protest, in innocence. By the 1700s, the island had become synonymous with death. Sailors whispered its name like a curse. Locals refused to speak of it. Even today, much of the island's soil is composed of human ash mixed with earth. Archaeologists say human remains are still just inches beneath the surface. You might think the horror ended with the medieval plagues, but centuries later, death came back to Poveglia. In the 1700s, Venice once again faced waves of disease. When illness struck, the city returned to what it knew: exile. And once again, Poveglia's shores opened to the sick. The island was officially designated as a lazaretto, a quarantine station under the control of the Public Health Office. Ships arriving in Venice suspected of carrying disease were required to offload passengers here, where they waited sometimes for weeks, sometimes for eternity. By now, the island had a reputation soaked in fear. No one wanted to go. Many never came back. And those who did were never the same. This wasn't just a burial ground. It was a place where the sick were discarded to die. Poveglia was never meant to be remembered. But even after the plague faded, Poveglia's darkness endured. In the 20th century, the screams returned, not from disease, but from madness. By the 1920s, the world was changing. But for Poveglia, the transformation was far more sinister. The island was once again repurposed, this time not for the sick, but for the insane. A psychiatric hospital was opened on the remains of the plague site, a decision that still baffles historians. The hospital's official name has been lost to time, but its reputation remains etched in whispers. Patients were brought to the island by boat. Many never left. Some were mentally ill. Others were simply inconvenient, labeled insane by families who wanted them gone. At the time, mental health treatments were crude and inhumane. Lobotomies were common. Electroshock therapy was routine. And on Poveglia, the line between treatment and torture began to blur. According to Venetian lore, one doctor took a special interest in experimenting on his patients. He performed lobotomies without anesthesia, using hand tools, drills, and worse. Screams echoed across the lagoon, but he claimed it was all in the name of science. Eventually, the doctor began seeing shadows, hearing voices. Some say the spirits of the plague victims turned on him. Driven mad, he climbed the island's old bell tower and threw himself from the top. Locals say he survived the fall, but died shortly after, when a strange mist choked his last breath. Even after the doctor's death, staff reported strange occurrences. Objects moving, screams in empty halls, shadows where no one stood. Patients spoke of invisible figures, some pleading, others watching. By the late 1960s, the hospital closed without explanation. The island was once again abandoned, and this time, no one tried to return. Decades have passed since the asylum closed its doors, but the island's darkness never lifted. Poveglia remains abandoned, swallowed by nature, and sealed off by the government. Officially, it's not open to the public. Unofficially, no one wants to go. Even in a city filled with history, Venetians avoid speaking about Poveglia. Fishermen steer clear of its shores. Boats don't dock, and any mention of developing the land is met with silence. Over the years, the Italian government has tried to auction off the island multiple times. Investors walked away, locals protested, and rumors of strange accidents during inspections began to surface. One proposal even included turning the island into a luxury resort. It failed, because the deeper you dig here, the more you find that's better left buried. Visitors who've snuck onto the island report chilling experiences. Shadows moving in daylight, voices with no source, an oppressive feeling like you're being watched. Some say the bell tower still rings, even though the bell was removed decades ago. Others claim they've heard crying or worse, laughter. Now, trees grow through collapsed buildings. Ivy strangles what's left of the hospital walls. The island is rotting, not just physically, but emotionally. It feels wrong. Even the air carries a heaviness. For now, Poveglia sleeps, not out of peace, but out of fear. A place where history is too cruel to remember and too dangerous to forget. Some places should be left alone. Poveglia is one of them. Its soil is soaked with pain. Its ruins echo with voices not yet silenced. If this mystery pulled you in, there are many more islands with dark secrets waiting to be uncovered. Subscribe to Island Secrets, where every island has a story, and some will haunt you long after the video ends.